Hello, Mark Petzel, Freedom Fire USA. Thanks for watching. This video is going to cover basically my relationship, not just with Trump, but more with fellow Tea Partiers, people I've joined forces with over the last 10 years as a Tea Party leader. I hope you'll find my perspective to be unique and compelling, and we'll see what you think. So this is in response to a rather lengthy Facebook post that I was tagged in, and it had so much in there. I literally wrote the different questions or premises down so I could address them one by one. And I thought I'd try doing a video instead of typing it, so that you could also get some of my inflection, my voice, my emotion, whatever, to help try to convey the message. Because I'll tell you, I really struggle at making a pointed connection with my peers, or former peers, if you will. And I'm going to try this route. So I hope that you find it interesting and compelling, and either, you might be more convicted in your stance. You might think I'm totally whacked out, or maybe you'll hear what I'm saying in a different way, and it might cause you to think a little differently. So see what you think. Okay, so basically this post is from a memory that was 7 years old, and it was about basically a Romney campaign. And I think that stirred my friend, in that he looked at that and he saw, man, Mark, you sounded a lot different when Romney was running for president, and is wondering why. Okay, so the first thing is, explain my stance on Trump versus Romney. Well, first of all, my stance on the two is, the focus is really not on the two. It's on me, okay, and what I've learned and what I've developed as far as my train of thought. I would compel the listener, the people that are watching this video, to try not to think so much about Trump and Romney, and think about us, about me. And, back in 2007, I was more pragmatic. I was more along the lines of, man, do it the best we can with what we have. And, so there's a chance that he didn't hear me say too much about Romney. Now, that being said, I definitely did say things about Romney. It's just he may not remember. The other possibility is that when I say inconvenient things, or for lack of better words, negative things about a presidential candidate, those are inconvenient things that can be dismissed quite easily. And I'm not saying that I didn't say them, but I am saying that there's a chance that I did, and he just doesn't remember as well, because it's inconvenient. Much along the same that the things that I say regarding Trump fall on deaf ears in general. So, and one more I need to reiterate on this is, usually Trump might be part of the discussion, but the issue isn't really Trump. It's how we respond to Trump and how we respond to Romney, okay? And so, he said he never heard a word is another point. I just covered that. The next thing he says is, he says he suspects I supported Bush. This is where we start going down a rabbit hole. I make these comments, and sometimes it sounds like I'm being arrogant, or, look at what I did, or whatever. But it's the truth, and it's a history. You got to understand regarding Bush. Bush has actually compelled me to actually take my first big steps as a Tea Partier in 2008. In the summer of 2008, when Bush and Paulson were spending the TARP money that Congress approved for ways that Congress didn't approve it, I literally called, this is before the Tea Party was the Tea Party, okay, the modern day Tea Party. I literally called the Glenn Beck show, the first time I ever made a call to a national show. And I said, is it time for a modern day Tea Party? Because these guys are spending money that will have to be recouped through taxation, and they're disregarding what our representatives said. So basically, it's taxation without representation. Is it time for modern day Tea Party? And he hung up on me, okay? But my voice, that message went out to millions of people with Bush as president, okay? So I'm sorry. I just, these things, they drive me nuts. People assume way too much, okay? And I will go back a little bit farther. I actually voted for Ross Perot. And many will say, oh, thanks, you gave me Clinton. Don't get me going down that path. And I also wrote letters to Vern Ehlers, our representative before Justin Amash, when all the legals were going to D.C. This is years and years ago. And I literally wrote my letter to Vern Ehlers. They're coming to you, Vern. Do your job so I can do mine. And I actually repeated that statement over and over again. Do your job so I can do mine, because in my heart, I felt it coming. By it, I mean my life was going to be changed and it was going to be interrupted. There was going to be a huge chunk of time taken away because of the fact our representatives weren't doing their job, like Vern Ehlers. That was coming. So I'm sorry. I just got to shoot that premise down. And I guess related to us, my point would be to pace yourself. Don't assume too much. Okay. Oh, next thing is basically my acknowledging Trump's checklist of ideas. There's certainly things that I like about what Trump has done. I do like to see patriotism come back to America, and that's an outcropping of his influence and culture that the Obama apology tour has done, and Trump comes in and people feel good, and rightfully so, that the Obama era is done. There's, overall the justices, pretty good. Kavanaugh, maybe a C. As far as a Supreme Court justice, maybe it's the best he felt he could do. I don't know. But, there's things about what Trump's doing that's fine. But I will say one thing. I pace myself on saying too much for a couple of reasons. One, my focus is, again, on the people. And honestly, you don't need one more voice yelling in the echo chamber. Y'all are doing a good enough job on your own. You don't need my voice in there. Number two, I find that when I have given positive feedback for Trump, Paul Harvey shows up with the rest of the story. I'm like, oh my gosh, I would like to just say great job, but then you hear about this other stuff that goes with it. So I tried, honestly, to pace myself. But the other thing is, and this is very important, that whatever Trump does as president can be undone by President AOC. So again, my focus is on the people, okay? I want to make a statement here, okay? And this is very, very important, okay? And this is part of my worldview that I'm asking you, the fellow Tea Party patriots, to try to understand where I'm coming from. Through the years, we've said, we're not a democracy, we're a republic. We've said that the Constitution is the ultimate law, and it is. And, we've recognized the Declaration of Independence as the platform that gives the Constitution teeth, which it is. But there's something even further. And, of course, with the Declaration of Independence, our rights come from our Creator. It's very important. But this is where the rubber meets the road, okay? I've said through the years that government gets its power from our consent. I've said that repeatedly, and I just don't feel like that is really catching hold, okay? That the bad behavior that we see in government, that's an effect of us. It isn't because of them we are like this. No, they follow us, okay? So my focus, again, is on the people, more so than the representatives. So since government getting its power from their consent doesn't seem to take hold, let me take it a step further. Our nation is not a nation of law. It's a nation of political will. So basically, if we don't have the will to enforce the Constitution doesn't mean anything. That's not too complicated, is it? I hope that's resonating. But I'm going to take it one step further, and especially I'm going to talk to people that are believers, that have accepted Christ in their heart, and they've accepted the grace. They've also accepted the authority that comes through Christ, through the Great Commission. That, political will comes from our faith that we have and from our conviction. If we don't have faith and conviction, we don't have political will. If we don't have political will, we don't have, you know, power to affect government. These guys will keep going about their business, and you know that they have. They'll do their business. They'll ignore us. They don't care what we think, quite honestly, because they've gotten away with it, and they have. I mean, it's you really can't refute that they've gotten away with it because they don't believe we're going to do anything about it. Okay. He says he doesn't appreciate the unpresidential tweets. Yeah, I don't either. I will say that one thing that the president can do is he can influence culture because of his position of leadership. And, you know, if he would act more becoming and, you know, deal with principle issues, that would be great. But, you know, I appreciate the fact that he's trying, you know, to recognize things that, you know, constructive criticism with Trump. But later on, he says, he kind of disregards the unpresidential tweets later on in his post. So, next thing is he doing more positive things than Obama? Okay, I mean, Obama was, I would say, the worst president in modern history, if not history altogether. Obama was lawless, and he did use the power of the presidency to negatively influence culture. You know, so, I mean, you know, I'm not going to let Obama set the bar for what is reasonable and customary in America, if you don't mind. I prefer to look beyond that. You can call me an idealist if you want. I'll take it. I'll take the idealist. And then he goes on to idealism is nothing but a fantasy. Okay, so I have a real issue with that. Idealism is nothing but fantasy. So what I'm hearing is an excuses for bad behavior. And, you know, many people acknowledge the fact that the quote-unquote left have no problem unifying, and they stay put on their target. We'll use AOC and the Green New Deal, for example. She comes up with some sort of harebrained, just devastating idea and policy. And she puts that out there as like, what do you think? How close to this can you come? All of a sudden we start negotiating how much of the Green New Deal can we get away with not implementing. Okay? She has no problem with being an idealist. You know what we need? We need some idealists on our side, which are advocating for Americanism and originalist American government. For example, here's an idea for you. Here's the opposite of a Green New Deal. How about our Congress people say, you know what? No money will go from the citizens to the federal government. All money will come from the state governments that will collect the revenue, and the states will pay for the services that they want. Okay, everybody's going, that's crazy. Well, you know, honestly, that resembles our, you know, originalist form of government more so, where the states were their own, essentially, countries, and they gathered for what was needed, you know, as the United States of America. The senators were elected by the state governments. And think about how that would turn the table on its head. So the federal government says you will have transgender bathrooms or we will not give you funding. If we're the ones that are writing the check, we could say, excuse me? I disagree. Power of the purse, right? So my point is this. We have an absence of idealism, not a surplus of it. And if we did, they could have to meet us part way or whatever. Instead of them framing the conversation, how about we frame the conversation? You know, how about we do that with healthcare? We model direct service healthcare providers like we have here in Grand Rapids that's actually very close to the free market, instead of renaming Obamacare, which is what Trump essentially was doing. You know, I'm sorry, but that's what it is. And so for me, I'm like, wait, time out all those years of repealing Obamacare. I agree, we did need to do that. And no, I disagree with socialized medicine, under Trump the same way I disagree with it under Obama. I am the same person. The only difference is that we didn't have power back then. And I didn't have to hold the president accountable because we were fighting the president. Okay, so let's see. I'm not saying the ends justify the means is what he says. I'm not saying the ends justify the means. Yes, you are. To be honest with you, you are saying the ends justify the means. Just because you throw out the statement of saying that the ends don't justify the means doesn't mean that that's exactly what you're doing. You have no problems with what's going on. And so long as you're the one in authority, you don't mind the abuse of the system. So it's tempting to do at times, I have to admit. But yes, the ends do justify the means with you. Then we start in with we are all sinners, and he cannot judge Trump's personal behavior or his works. Okay, folks. Yes, you can definitely judge Trump's behaviors, and you should just judge his behaviors, and you should judge our congressmen's behaviors, and you should judge the behaviors of people you want to go into business with, and you should judge the behaviors of your spouse, of your kids, and yourself. Most definitely, we are here to judge. We cannot pass, we can't pass a conviction along. But, there's definitely things. This is part of why we're here, is to judge the fruit. And if we aren't to judge their fruit, what are we to judge? We're supposed to ignore bad behavior, say, oh, well, we just can't judge. No, that is exactly there so we can judge. This is huge. I mean, this is a gigantic issue. And that when I hear that phrase, I can literally see like a shell of protection that a person is erecting around themselves so that they can act poorly behind that facade that's put over. That is honestly very weak. As we go into the area of culture and into the area of civics, we are to judge. We are to love our enemy. I'm going to get personal here, okay? There's a gentleman running for Congress that's, seeking to unseat Justin Amash that's here. And this gentleman I've had personal dealings with. And there's things that he did on a personal level that threatened my family and threatened legal action against against us. And I'm not going to get into all the detail on that, but he puts on a very good front as far as being Joe Patriot, Joe Trump Republican, Joe veteran, Joe this or that. I mean, he carries that quite well. But the thing is I know who, the issues he has underneath, and I know those issues are undealt with. So to my point, as far as judging, I judge the behavior that he did. Okay. I also judge that, as I know of, there's been no effort of forgiveness or reconciliation or anything else. Now, do I hate him? No, not at all. As a matter of fact, I wish well for him. I wish happiness for him, and so on. I do. I don't. I would have to say I've heard him talk enough. I wouldn't doubt his salvation. But let's say I did doubt his salvation. Would I want him to go to hell? Absolutely not. No, not at all. But does that mean I want him to be my representative? No, it doesn't. I do not want him to be my representative. I've seen his issues. I know that they directly affect his ability to discern individual liberty issues. No, I don't want him to be my representative. And I'm sounding the alarm. Stop, don't, please stop, don't. And people say, well, you just have a personal vendetta. Okay. No, I don't. I do forgive him. I most definitely do. But, and I have forgotten the grievances on a personal level. But that said, his actions are his actions. That means he is not qualified to be my representative by my standards, which are, one, is he trustworthy? Is he moral? Does he seek, to solve problems? Does he hate immoral gain? No, there's issues there. No, I don't want him to be my representative. That's Exodus 18:21, by the way. So, I guess, I hope this all makes sense, that it's not a question. In his last comment, am I looking at Trump's, the things that he does? I mean, yeah, I do, but I'm not obsessed by him. I'm just not. I understand after the years of being in the Tea Party that our behavior is absolutely key. And if we don't demand a level of excellency, if we don't fully embrace Americanism, the people that hate America are on fire. They don't miss a beat. They are totally in alignment with their principles and ideals, and we are not. We aren't. And what happens when you're lukewarm? You get spit out. And the next generation coming up is watching people speak with conviction, even though their premises are all horrible and exactly 180 degrees wrong. They identify with that, versus us who are speaking about not principles but personalities. And I'm trying to make the best appeal I can to my fellow countrymen, my fellow patriots, to sure, do the best you can politically, but oh my gosh, there's so much more. And I guess at this moment, I will, instead of just saying what's wrong, I'll put out there what I view as the best corrective actions that I can see. So basically, Thomas Jefferson said, educate and inform the masses. It's the only way to preserve liberty. It was known during our founding era that our Constitution was made for moral and educated people. All these different things. So my challenge to you is to declare independence. By that I mean, I don't care what you do politically. I care how your heart is. If that means you need to work within the GOP as a minority or doing whatever, God bless you. But I'm saying declare independence. I'm saying that from a mental and spiritual and relationship standpoint. What that means is that none of these exterior entities have control over you. Your relationship between God and yourself is sacred. And make that mental break so that you're not beholden to the spirit of politics anymore, which seeks to interfere with your relationship with God. Well, after you declare independence, then start working on what is close to you, okay? What I mean by that is start reading the Bible more. If you're already doing it, great, but do it more. I always say Romans is a great book if you're looking for a place to start. If not, just start at the beginning of the New Testament, work your way through, and pray that God will lead you in your journey. But by doing that, it'll shape your view of those ideals that come from God, of what's right and what's true, and that are self-evident and are beyond refute. Okay, there's that. Then I would say share with your family. Institute on the Constitution has great classes that have DVDs and curriculum that you could do a Friday night, family night for several weeks. I think it's 14 weeks, and just say, you know what, I am declaring independence. I'm not waiting for the pastor of my church anymore. I'm not waiting for the public schools anymore. I'm not waiting for anybody else anymore. I'm taking care of, for me and my house, we're going to serve the Lord. And what that looks like is we're going to start digging in by what's necessary to be effective in our culture and in our government. And Institute on the Constitution is a place, nice place to go. Self-Evident Ministries, they have podcasts you can listen to, and so on. There's different places you can go. Wall Builders is plenty good, and Dave Barton does everything he can to make sure he doesn't offend the Trump people. He always puts as positive of a view he can put. So you can listen to Wall Builders every day, and your offense because of your desire for Trump to be successful will be tempered, but you can handle it. It's not going to be that critical, okay? So, anyways, I hope this all makes sense. This video is 25 minutes long now, 26. I hope that you stuck with me, and I hope we can join together in unison. First things first, and seeking to understand God more together. If we can't join in unison there, I don't know where we're going to be able to join in unison. So God bless you all for watching, and God help us restore America. Thanks.